Hey everybody, again, and today guys, I'm here to do a bit of a life story based video here. Now, for anybody who has not watched it, I did do a video about otakus and weeaboos before. I have done that, the difference between them. Like, I think I had done it. If you have not checked it out yet, go right ahead, if I have done it, of course. But I have done a video about the difference between otaku and weeaboo, and this video has some connection to that video, so if you want to know what otaku weeaboo is, go to that video, or just stay here if you want to go there anyway. But pretty much, guys, for anybody who still doesn't fully understand from the video I did on it, if I did, of course, when it comes to weeaboo and otaku, both of them, everybody who is otaku weeaboo had, of course, at some point been one of those two, like, actually have switched between those two. Like, when it comes to the anime culture, otaku and weeaboos, you pretty much switch. You can switch from being otaku to weeaboo, or weeaboo to otaku. You can, unfortunately, you can. And unfortunately, it's unavoidable. You will at some point switch into one of those two. Like, maybe at one point you're an otaku, but at some point you turn into a weeaboo. Like, you cannot deny that's what happens when it comes to fandoms. Is that at some point you're an obsessive fan, like so much that you think you know everything about it. But then soon later, you turn into this, still a big fan maybe, but not as the one you originally were. Of course, when it comes to anime and manga, the weeaboo is sorry for the people who are actually weebs, but not a good idea to be a weeboo really at all. Not a very good idea. But pretty much, that's what I'm pretty much saying. Pretty much when it comes to your life, you know you turn at some point, you will end up being one of those two at the same time maybe. But pretty much you'll be able to be in your life. You could end up having both a otaku and a weeboo life. You gonna end up having that. You cannot escape from it. Once you become fan of anime, you will end up at some point switching to both, at least to those two at some point. One time you're otaku, then you turn to a weeaboo, then maybe back to otaku, and vice versa, blah 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 blah. So yeah. Now I'm beginning the story of my transition from otaku, weeaboo, and weeaboo to otaku. First up, when I started getting big into anime, like, big, like, this is before way after from High School of the Dead, Rose and the Vampire, like, this is like after that, like, after watching all those, they got me to end up understanding stories and stuff more better. I got so big into anime, literally. And that was back near the end of year 7, and actually around about year 8. That happened. I got so big obsessed around me. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. First up, until around about near the end of year 9 and the start, and pretty much all the way to now, really. That's the time I actually started getting into watching anime with Japanese language, with English subtitles. But back then, when I started, so year 8, like year 7, year 8, I was only watching English stuff, and also I was in my phase where I did not like reading full stop. I hated reading completely. Part of the reason why it took me a bit more longer to read manga until year 11. Because I did not really get into manga until year 11, which is not, like, pretty much a year ago. Only a year ago, so this shows you how much I hated reading. But pretty much, because I did not like reading, part of the reason why I did not go to the Japanese one sooner than other people is because I did not like reading at all. So I was only watching English stuff. But even though I was only watching English dubbed, that means, of course, I wouldn't learn any Japanese, some say, unless the ones that have been brought up. You know, there are some Japanese words that do come up in English dubbed anime. They do come up. They do come up at some point in some series. So yeah, you cannot deny that. So, but I cannot deny that. That's when I became a weeaboo. Yeah. And then guys, that just shows you I started the anime fandom as a weeaboo. Oh. Yeah, my starting big fan stage. I was a fucking weeb. I was not otaku, I was a weeaboo. That's the reason why I can tell straight away that now I'm no longer a weeaboo. Because I knew how I act back then. Back then, even to the people who actually are weeaboos, they won't call me a fucking weeaboo. Even then, they would call me a weeaboo. Because I was watching English dubbed anime. Because of that, I was watching English dubbed. I cannot be called a weeaboo, truly. Even though, in my book, I was a weeaboo. I was a weeaboo. Because I do feel like I was a weeaboo back then. Because I had the tendencies of the weeaboo, and I was actually using the majority of those tendencies as a weeaboo. Because I was bragging about my anime to everybody. And of course, the words I actually have learned from the English dub side of it, I have pretty much mentioned them all the time. I was bugging people. And I couldn't deny, I pretty much did all you need there for as a weeaboo, except I didn't collect because of the money purposes. But if I had the money, I would have fucking collect so much more. I'd be a fucking weeb at the same time. Yay! So when I started getting into anime, guys, well, actually when I started getting a big fan of anime, I was a weeaboo. Oh fuck. Year 7, year 8. For anybody who knew me back then, you knew me as a fucking weeaboo. And for example, guys, I have to say this, guys. I did not understand otaku. I learned otaku in year 9. I knew what otaku was. Actually, year 8 I knew was year 8 I knew what otaku was. And of course, but this is like near the end of year 8, starting of year 9. I learned what otaku is. The weeaboo thing, I only found out a year ago. Only a year ago, while the word weeaboo and weeaboo itself, I only learned it a year ago. Actually, I knew what the word a year ago, but I only learned what the word is a few months ago. Only a few months ago, I learned what a weeaboo is. Only 6. I think it's only 11 months ago. Not 11. Now I would say only 9 months ago I found out what a weeaboo is. So that's when I found out, roughly around that time. So of course, even from then I didn't know I was a weeaboo. So I only found out I was a weeaboo back then. For back then I only found out from learning that information what a weeaboo is. That's why I can say. That's why I cannot deny that back then when I actually started getting anime, I was a fucking weeaboo. So first up, when I get pissed off someone call me a weeaboo, you're fucking talking to my past self here. And of course I hated my past self like with the core. I fucking hated my past self. So when you call me a weeaboo, you're pretty much enraging myself. My past, and I hated my past self, so that's part of the reason why I don't like being called a weeaboo, because you imagine what I was like in the past, and I fucking hated it. That's the start of my dark days. Now, the time that got me out from being a weeaboo, in year 9, that's when I started to become pretty much into otaku, and pretty much we could say coming back to otaku, because technically, for the first 2 animes, I was evolving into otaku. I was actually evolving into, and a weeaboo, like I said, people who don't know, a weeaboo is technically still otaku, just an otaku who took them just too far. But pretty much, I was evolving into otaku. Right, I think I first started, but I evolved so quick. Well, my mind so quick. My mind so quick. I turned into a weeaboo. That's why I disowned myself. So I had to, in some way, somewhat de-evolve. I had to, when I felt like my life didn't feel that great, even though I didn't know what weeaboo was even back then. I didn't know what weeaboo was, and I didn't know the word and I didn't know the word weeaboo existed back then. And I found out what otaku was, and compared to me, I didn't feel like I was otaku. So I decided to change myself. By doing that, and that was back in year 9. I was gradually turning back into what I should have turned into when I first got into anime, or an otaku. I turned into otaku. It took me a while, of course. It took me, like I said, near the end of year 9 when I could fully say I was complete otaku. I was complete otaku, no longer a weeaboo, Even though I didn't, like I said, I didn't know the word weeaboo or even know the word weeaboo existed back then. So, but when I felt like I was a normal otaku, even though with my big obsession still there, and yet again, with my autism, I can say this. When I found out about my autism, and that was roughly near the end of year 8. Near the end of year 8, I think. Yeah, near the end of year 8. I found out I had autism. By finding out I had autism, I think that's part of the reason why I was able to change from being a weeaboo to an otaku. Because I understood that I had a problem. I had a serious problem. And I think about it, a lot of people would pick on me and stuff. It was because my autism sort of caused it in some way, even though but in some way what influenced the bullying because of my autism. And of course, combine weeaboo with autism, guys. Just imagine a true weeaboo with autism. You get the basic traits of what an autistic child would act like. Just imagine how they would act. A mild form of autism, someone who's a weeaboo. Just imagine how fucked up they would be, and yes, that's how fucked up I was. I can't deny I'm still somewhat fucked up when it comes to my anime side, but that's mostly because of my autism side, not my weeaboo side. Even though again it does show the weeaboo tendencies, but it's still majority of the time it's my autism that's causing it. So yeah, so cannot deny that. But yes. So when I found out I had autism, it changed me. I decided to change somewhat, even though it have already changed in personality wise. But it changed me from being a weeaboo to otaku. So year 9 till now, I'm now an otaku. But I cannot deny, even to this day, I still have my weeaboo tendencies, and people who do call me weebs do call me a weeaboo. Even though I complain to you guys, I fucking hate it, and sometimes I cannot deny it. I am not a weeaboo. There's one thing I cannot deny. Now, I cannot deny because with my same mind I'm talking to the camera. My same mind, in some way you're right. I was being pretty much a weeaboo. I cannot deny it. Even though I cannot deny you're right to your faces, camera-wise, I cannot deny. Weeaboo tendencies come throughout. Everybody who liked anime, I know some people who like anime so much, they show it sometimes, even without them knowing, they show it. But I didn't bring much up because it was not too big of a deal. And the same with my ones, it was not too much big of a deal because really, the ones I bring out are just passable, just something you don't have to really worry about. The bigger ones you need to fucking worry about because they're not great. Literally. So, but pretty much, I'm a true otaku either way. Sometimes maybe switch. you might switch my switch on, like to turn me in a weeb attention up, but I'm more otaku, and I will stand as otaku for my freaking life because I know how to be a weeb. I knew how a weeb acted, so yeah. It was surprising that even though back in year near the end of year 9 and year 10, that's when I started getting to watching Japanese side of the anime. Surprising that did not turn me into a weeaboo. It's surprising it didn't. I don't know why it did not, but it did not turn me into a weeaboo because I don't know why it did not turn me into a weeaboo, which is surprising because I was only watching his dub, and so back then I classed myself a weeaboo because I was so much like I knew a lot about Japan. Yeah, but myself back then. But as I learned my lesson, that means I knew that once I do start into the Japanese side of it, I still know that I don't know anything about Japan. I know that don't know every single word that's said. I won't pronounce it properly. That's why I could not call myself a weeaboo now, or even when I started into the Japanese side of it, I could not call myself a weeaboo there either, because of me understanding pretty much understanding that I don't know everything about Japan. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, guys, and that's all I've got to say. Hello, guys. I hope you guys like this somewhat little talk about a backstory of mine when I was a backstory between me turning to a weeaboo to otaku and vice versa. So yeah, hope you guys like it. Become a Trap fans today. If you guys want to send an email, comment section down below. My address is there, and yeah, hope you guys like it. Comment, like, subscribe, and see you guys later. Bye, guys!